Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Discussions with Dazzler. And I'm here joined with JorbyPls. Jorby, how you doing today? It's so weird because you got Jorby and then you got Joey, and I don't say your name that much. So when
Yeah,
you
every time
do
you
say
say
it,
Joey, it sounds weird to me.
it does.
Like it's so much more open than Jorby. Jorby is kind of like a rolling, but Joey is just like like Joey. It's
Like,
just open.
does it feel like I'm breaking a weird boundary there?
Well, it's more so you've always called me Jorby, so it's
That's fair.
only. Although the more I call you Damar and the more you call me Joey, the more used to it I get. So
Yeah, that was like when I was casting with Fickle at on B Stream for Dallas, and I called him Grant because I always call him Grant. I do. I'm just like, yo, what's up, Grant? And then we were talking about a point, and I was like, yeah, Grant, I really think that, and he's like, okay, Damar. And I didn't know we were using first names here. And I was like, it threw me off for a minute because I'm so used to saying it. I was like, what?
it's funny because like there are some people who I do use their name and their in-game handle like interchangeably. But
Mm-hmm.
there's some people where your name is just your name. Like Corelli, his first name is Jack, but like Corelli is always Corelli to me. That's why like
Yeah.
Chiefs and I always like make fun of it. It's like, no, you are Corelli, Jack Jack Collier. I don't ever know how you pronounce it. It's Jack Collier, not Collier. It's not French, is what I'm told. Dr. Corelli Stevens to
There you
you.
go. Easy.
But yeah.
Yeah, freaking. I think with the Chiefs, I'll say Chiefs, but if I'm trying to get his attention, this did work one time. I'll call him Michael. I'll be like, a Chiefs, Michael. He'll turn around, huh? Person name, talk to person, please.
That's why you got to call him Mikey. He responds to Mikey way better.
Or Mike.
No, yeah, definitely call him Mike.
Yeah.
Please. If you're in here, I want you to tweet it at Chiefs right now and say,
please.
And say Corelli told me to tweet at you and call you Mike.
Oh fuck! Let me keep my phone on standby because that's gonna be really it. That's gonna be really good. But
you don't have to do that, but it would be funny.
Yeah, but I mean, for you and for chat, happy 4th of July. I'm kind of actually. I wish that I wasn't here. I'm not gonna lie.
You wish that you weren't here. Well, thanks.
Well,
thanks, Tess.
Not because
I'm glad that I'm here.
I'm glad that you're here. I'm very thankful you're here.
Sitting at my
it has nothing to do with that.
Good.
What it has to do is usually 4th of July is when everyone barbecues, and there's no barbecues going on today.
Oh,
so
you could have started your own barbecue.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't be here. See, it all works out. It all works out at the end of the day. I was like,
you know what? You sound about as indecisive as I am, so we'll take it. We'll go with that. We're glad to be here.
Oh man, but I mean, dude, where do we start? Where do we start here? Let's start.
You tell me.
We're gonna start at the beginning.
Rather than at the end.
Let's do before the beginning. What were you doing before casting was even a thing for you?
Before casting was ever a thing, I was working as a junior network engineer for Verizon. I had 7 years in the IT industry and was doing that for a long time. And I was casting in between jobs that I had after I'd gotten laid off from one of my jobs. And I started casting in my free time after after Rocket League came out, and found Ghost Boosters. But IT was what I was doing, and I was living over in Raleigh, North Carolina. I had been doing a little bit of programming as well, and I at the time was working on game development, and I had made a couple of little games, really just 2 of them that I'd put together. And then everything just kind of ended up pivoting. A lot of my time was spent working, and then really hanging out with a lot of friends I had in town at the time. So that's really what I was up to in the lead up.
Okay, I mean, well, let's actually dig into it a little bit more. So what was give me a rundown of a regular week, again, try to keep it before kind of Ghost Boosters or around that time, even with that, what was that kind of like for you?
The week was really, it was kind of droll. I'd wake up and I was working second shift at the job I was at. So I'd go into work at 11 and I would leave around 8, and I'd be up till 4 in the morning playing games. I was usually playing at the time. I was playing a lot of Smite. Um, I played a lot of that game, and my core group of friends, we all played together. So like we were always playing in 5 stacks and like playing a lot every day, like playing like 6-7 hours. We played a shit ton of Smite. And I was playing a couple of other games and stuff, but like mostly I was just trying to keep things going in a new city. It was coming up on my around that time I was coming up on my 3rd year living in Raleigh,
Mm.
and I had done a lot of like I still wanted to pursue game development. So like over those years, like I would go to there was game dev drink ups that they would have, and a lot of Epic is headquartered in Cary, North Carolina, which is within Raleigh. And so like a lot of the Epic devs would be there. A couple of indie devs from some of the other studios would be there as well, and like those were great guys to talk to. So I went to a lot of those kind of meetups to meet with developers, because that's what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be involved somehow in gaming, and IT and working with computers and like doing network engineering was interesting work. It was not what I wanted. It was boring. I'd go to work for 8 hours, and basically it's just maintenance work for the entire day. But you're always like looking for things to fix all day, and it just gets it's a long, boring day at a desk. And for some people that's great, and it was good for me for a while. Um, but like the week really didn't have anything like too eventful. I'd go out almost like every weekend. I'd end up going out. I like to move around. I like to dance. You know that. And so I would just go to different clubs and stuff with a couple of my buddies, and we just have fun.
Yeah, that's where you learned your mad skills, guys.
Mad
I wish I
skills.
had the picture with me right now. I throw it up on screen of the one vial I took. It's really good. It's really good. It should be on his Twitter. Make sure you guys check out Jorby's Twitter. It's right under his name to see like a picture that they took of him at the recent World Championships in Jersey. We'll get to that very soon. But a couple questions about like your like home life, or so to speak. Did you ever think about doing like IT at a game studio?
Yeah, there was a couple of before I moved to Raleigh. There was Bethesda was hiring IT operations, and they were in Rockville, Maryland. I lived just about an hour north of there at the time,
Hmm.
and I was about 4 or 5 years. That was like 4 years in IT at that point, and I'm like, it'd be really cool if I could like get in that way, since I already had industry experience in just in IT in general, and like I thought I could use that to pivot into game development. It was tough at the time without any real connections in the industry, and just hoping that my resume got noticed. So I definitely thought about it, and I looked at it for Epic for a while, but they weren't really like hiring for IT people in their Cary headquarters really at all. And it's tough to do for game studios in general, just because a large portion of IT work now is it's contracted out to agencies, and like you can go out to those agencies and stuff, but they'll give you what they give you. You don't get to pick and choose. So the contracting life really makes that pretty hard. But I definitely thought about it for a while, and I definitely tried.
Like so, like if you from like what you've learned, because like you said you were like doing that for like 7 years. So like when did you
Yeah.
start doing that?
Right out of high school, I was
Okay.
18. Yeah, and I got a job at a small business working as an IT assistant.
Oh snap! So you're like a almost self-made boy, almost.
Almost. I got some help with that particular job, but I definitely made the most of it for sure, and it helped kickstart a career that I really didn't see stopping at any time. It seemed the most logical to me. It
Hmm.
was stable, only ever growing. So yeah, I got little bit of luck, and I was able to have a successful start to what would have been a career.
Right. And you also said that you were working, you were just like working on like doing game development stuff. So like for you, like what would have been your ideal like job at a game studio?
Oh, that's flipped around a lot. That answer has never really been the same. If you at like right now, I think the main thing I'd love to do at a studio is I'd love to do some sort of voice acting, or even be like a community manager. I think that those two things really fit the bill for me,
Mm.
and um, it is something that I would love to pivot to eventually. Is to get into those things, and I'm kind of looking into trying to see what I can do with voice acting now. Um, while I am mainly focused on casting, but we'll see what I can do there and see where that can go.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can totally see like how like as time changes, things evolve. Um,
Yeah, I mean, at one point I would have told you I wanted to be a programmer, but I can tell you I definitely don't want to be that now.
man,
I did
man.
that. I did that for a couple of years, and I think in that time I realized it wasn't for me. So
Yeah. I learned programming in like one class that we had at the studio,
yeah,
and I saw scripts, and my brain like. So I was watching Hunter x Hunter, and like when Gong like someone
yeah.
explains something, it's like smoke coming out his ears, like it was just like that. I was just like,
His eyes just kind of like fade out, and he's just like,
yeah. I'm like, there's no way I can do this. I'm like, I probably could, but like, nah, this is not me. It's not me. It's just not me. So no, I totally understand that. I totally get to like where that. But so you were doing that for a little while, and then how did you find Ghost Boosters?
I got an email from Smash GG about a Rocket League tournament that was. They're like, hey, you should sign up for this Rocket League tournament, and me and my friend were playing all the time, and we were like, yeah, hell yeah, we should definitely sign up for that. It was a 2v2 tournament.
Mm.
And we go into the Discord, and my friend notices like on their announcement page that they were looking for shoutcasters, and shoutcasting is something I've expressed interest in doing to my friends. It's something I've always just wanted to try to do one day, but
Mm.
never really knew how to get started with it. And he's like, I was like, nah, I can't message them. Like I knew absolutely nothing about it, knew nothing about the tournament organizer. And I was like, no, there's no reason to take me. I've never casted before. Like, and he's like, dude, why not? Like, just reach out. Worst he can say is no. So I'm like, you know what? You're right. All right, I'll do that. So I messaged Minecrafting Dad and told him I was like, hey, I don't have any casting experience, but like I have this feeling that like I could be really good at this, and I really like a chance just to try. And he was all about it, and he's like, absolutely, let's set something up for you to get in here.
So what was it like casting like your first tournament? Like, how did that go?
Oh, so much fun. So
Yeah.
much fun. It was a 1v1 tournament, and the first thing I had ever casted in my life, and Minecrafting Dad was with me on the
Yeah, because
cast,
he used to
and
do
like
that.
I remember I was just like yelling like during this 1v1. Like I was just like, oh my god, and like going crazy and you know, trying to be a hype commentator that didn't really know what he was doing, but it was a lot of fun. And like everyone like that was a part of the broadcast at the time had a ton of fun with it. And really that made the whole experience for me. It was like I was super excited about it. And the people involved with the organizer were all about it. They were all having really a great fun with it. So that's how I discovered Ghost Boosters.
Yeah, like that led into a lot of things, obviously. But
A couple.
so like let's kind of talk about that journey, right? We'll go on that journey. In the early stages of growth, like before gnarly rival series, all that stuff. What was kind of like the process for you in terms of that? Like in terms of your early stages of growth, how did you know you were growing, or how did you like what was your mindset when you first started out? Like yeah, just like what was going through your brain?
Well, when I first started, it was just something I wanted to try. It was something that I thought would be a lot of fun,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a lot of fun. And Minecrafting Daddy asked me, he's like, "You want to do the one tomorrow?" And I was like, "Hell yeah! This was a ton of fun." And I wasn't really spending my evenings doing anything other than playing games. So I was like, "Why not? Why not go? Why not do it? It's just fun." And the more I did it, the more I started hanging out with those people in the community. The more I started talking to people, and like the more that this just became a place I go to hang out now.
Yeah.
Um, uh, in the Rocket League community, but the mindset at the time was just this is a lot of fun. Um, it was at uh trying to think. Rival Series season 1 started season 4, right? It was
Yeah.
season 4. Rival
Yeah, it
Series
was
started.
season
Yeah.
four.
Okay. Okay. So I remember, um, season 3 World Championship came around, and I had since hopped over to Nexus Gaming to do the majority of my community casting,
Mm.
and was doing that pretty consistently over there. And I don't remember the progression of everything. Like some of the events get mixed up in my head, but I do remember, um, right after PAX East, and PAX East was the first LAN I ever got.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna
actually,
stop you there because I know the
yeah,
direction you're going in.
right,
And before we get there,
yeah,
I want to really get in on like the community stuff and what was going on with that. So
sure,
like we're gonna take
sure.
a quick detour through like Rocket League community
We'll
back in the
float on
day.
through.
Um, do you remember any like the biggest topics that people were talking about? Because remember, this was like a interesting time. We had Nexus that were doing weeklies. You had PRL or Rival that were doing weeklies around that time. You had RLC who were doing Gfinities. You had Ghost Boosters turning into Boost Legacy doing their events. Like it was a lot going on. But like, do you remember like some of like the things that we were just like talking about back in the day? Like what were the because like to give you perspective of like what I mean, I sat down with Stranger and Carrie Taz at the World Championships. We went out to eat, and I told them, man, if we were sitting here like a year or maybe like 2 years to a year ago, like we would have a completely different conversation
Yeah,
because they would like it was Nexus and it was PRL like
right.
there was those times people were just sitting there and having a conversation, but like I don't know. Carrie Tass might mention he likes Friday's wings, and strangers would be like, "He's running a 3v3 on Friday. I have to watch it." You know what I mean?
Like, that's really a hidden side of the community organizations that I don't know a lot of people were too aware of. Is that the past like the little rivalries? It was everyone trying to put their best foot out there because before like at least before my involvement with Rival Series and before really Rocket League esports started to take off in a big direction. Like think pre X Games, because like X Games was the first like big event outside of the esports sphere for Rocket League.
Yeah.
There was a couple of others before that one, but like that was the one where it's like, oh, this is like actually happening at X Games. That's wild.
I
But
remember X
besides
Games.
that, so pre that stuff, is like PRL and Nexus were definitely the big two, and like RLC in the early days. But it's so funny because the people that were involved at the time, it's like PRL, they had what they built and they wanted to put together, the best broadcast that they could, the best talent that they could, and their goal was to be, the best community production in the community. And like other organizations had that ambition as well, but PRL were kind of the first to get there. Nexus got there like behind them, but PRL were definitely the first. And so because of that, because everyone's vying for that position, there's a little bit of rivalry between a couple of community organizations. And sometimes it got heated, other times like most times it was friendly, but sometimes it did get heated. But that's because you felt like the community organizations were really it was the most prominent thing we had at the time in Rocket League. It was like those were the tournaments that were going on all the time, and there was a lot of discussions about those too. But there's a lot, man. There's a lot. I could go on forever.
It's like nerd version. It's like Rocket League's nerd version of a gang. Like let's be real.
It really, it's so funny how it works, because it's like you put people on teams and they're gonna act like they're playing a game. Like it doesn't matter what kind of game that you're playing. It's like if you took two sports fan bases, except instead of sports fan bases, it's people trying to put on a show, and they want to be better than one another. And while that fostered such a great growth because of that competition, especially with Nexus and PRL towards the like right after the peak of like where the community organizations were. But like it made both entities better, and it even made the ones that were kind of behind them a little bit in prize pool and production, it forced those guys to step up their game. Everyone eventually had a transition graphic. Everybody eventually had, you know, a card screen where they could put their casters on. It wasn't just, you know, 2 boxes with 2 casters in it anymore. It's like, no, now we have a ticker. Now we have like this. Now you can look at this screen, and here we made our own little scoreboard over here. Or like, look, now we have animated graphics when a team scores. Like they stepped up their game, and this was all from people who volunteered their time to do it because they wanted to be, and part of it was because they wanted to be better than the other guys.
That's true.
There's a beauty in that, and I think that it really showed.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. It definitely did. I was gonna tell you, like, you gotta be careful. Don't talk too loud because Cloudfield might hear you, and he'll come in quickly with RLC, and we did it first. and I love Cloud. Like,
they did do it first. They did do it first.
Yeah,
he's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's like RLC was the foundation for everything else to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because without that RLC, there would have been, we don't know what there would have been, but as far as I'm concerned, there would have been nothing.
Yeah, like, and I mean, we could go on for that, but like, just to like talk about like, besides RLC, like it was something I think in the community that felt like, okay, RLC is RLC, like they're gonna do their thing, like that's cool.
Yeah,
but we're trying to see like between Nexus and Rival, like da 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 da, and it was so interesting for me because I wasn't into that as like, or ingrained in that as you were. I was more like I said, I was just talking through you know, since I was helping out with RLC at that point, I was just working with everyone as much as I could. But it was weird for me because I would go work at Nexus, or like I use work, but like cast at Nexus, and I would talk to the Rival guys, and they're like, "Oh, so you're a Nexus caster now?" And I was like, "No."
Yeah, yeah. They'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna." It's like you tell. It's like you. It's like you're a Bears fan walking into Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. Like, but what's funny though is I think things really started to tie together when the talkback came out, because and you don't know it, but you had Unthink, who's like head talent of Rival. You have you, who's like loud ass Nexus caster, and then you like put those two together, and like it's like a joint project at that point between, and like that no one really paid attention to, but everyone watched it because it was you two and being you, and then like just with everyone else. Man, that show was fucking crazy.
Man, I miss the talkback.
That show was crazy.
Like you throw talk back in my ears, and I just get super nostalgic, and it just makes me miss Unthink so much.
You gotta win. Yeah, it was funny too because I did the announcement for the tweet. I haven't seen him on socials at all, and he liked the tweet, and I was like, oh snap! Like, that was the first time I saw like any interaction with him in a long time.
Yeah, I talk with him sometimes, just to catch up and stuff. You know, he's got stuff he's doing IRL and games he's playing that's not Rocket League. So
that's fair.
You know, he's doing his thing, but he's great. But I do miss him. It was so funny. I remember just thinking one day, Unthink was on Twitter before I really knew who he was, and he wrote this twit longer about Nexus and how Carrie Taz was killing the unicorns and how Nexus Gaming supported the genocide of unicorns. So that was the first thing I ever, like, that was my first introduction to Unthink. And I started like interacting with that twit logger, and I was like going back and forth with him on the tweets. And it was the week after that. I'd already been stewing over this because I'm like, I'd really love to make like a podcast for Rocket League because I just want to talk. It's like I just look, I like talking. It's what I do. And I was like, I'd really like to make like a podcast or something. I was trying to think of who would be really fun to do that with. And like, I hadn't really, like, my sphere of people that I knew in Rocket League was still pretty small at the time, or people that I felt comfortable talking with. And so I just hit up Unthink, and I was like, yo, do you want to do a talk show with me? And he's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And I was like, hell yeah, let's make a talk show. So we did. And honestly, I expected nothing out of the talkback, but talkback actually had some pretty great moments to it. It was always like, it was a very modest show, and I think that's what I loved about it, because it was always just like Unthink and I, and then somebody we just brought anybody on who wants to come on and have a conversation about what's going on in Rocket League, and it was some of my favorite time, and I miss it. And sometimes I really want to bring it back, and then I think about the effort that I have to put forth to bring it back, and I don't know if I want to do it. So maybe someone else's talk show where I don't have to actually put the whole show together is probably the one that I'll be on.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like things are just a lot different now. Honestly, like there's just so much that's changed since that show's been out, and now that like, yeah, you would need someone who was in the same position as you were at that time in order to like have that show like do what it should do. You know what I mean? Like you still do the thing, but
well, I mean, it's like I could put in the effort. Like if I wanted to do it, if I really had the desire to bring the show back, I could. Okay. And I could put the whole show together. Like I have the time. It's not that I don't have any time to do it. I definitely do. I just don't want to put forth the effort because I think about it now, and I think about what we could talk about weekly, which to be fair, around this time weekly, there would be something to talk about every week, but there are still pretty long swaths of time where nothing really happens, and I'm not really in the business of doing a show monthly either. Right. So if we get to a point in Rocket League where there's enough things to talk about on a week-to-week basis throughout the year, maybe I'll think about it then. Maybe it'll be worth bringing, maybe it'll be worth doing, but I don't know if I ever will, because it would have to be with Unthink, because in my opinion, Unthink made that show. People came to be like, what's the talk back Rocket League? And it would be me who would go on rants, which was cool every once in a while. But Unthink was the funny guy who would always make you laugh and smile. And he always had something intelligent to say behind it too. And he made that show 100%. And I believe it to like within the bottom of my heart that that's why people tuned into the talk back. So
yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely a team effort, in my opinion. And like you said, it had some good moments. Like that show wasn't the great thing about it was that it was controversial. In my opinion, like I really thought the fact that like it was controversial.
Maybe like the first few episodes, but after that, it didn't really get that controversial.
Yeah. But like, oh man. Dude, there were some times. I remember I was looking at like some old chats, and like there was like some rival guys watching it, and they said you can see Daz looks visibly uncomfortable here. And I was like, what?
Oh, it's amazing.
And I know there was the whole thing with like Lethamir at some point. I forget what it was about. I remember like you definitely had threads about that show on Twitter. Obviously the just fucking win rant, legendary.
Yep, that was probably the most remembered moment of the show.
Yeah, that's peak.
Which is, if anything was gonna be forever remembered, at least it's not the mock it Nazi comment. Let's be honest, okay?
Yeah.
That was the very first episode. That was episode 1.
That was wild, but that's actually what kind of like got people watching, because they were like, "What he say?"
You gotta throw the flash. What did he say?
Wait, he said that?
What did you say about Lucky?
Wait,
you can't talk to Lucky like that. You can't talk to Lucky like that.
We gotta tune in. Hold up. Need to see what this show is about. But
and everybody else is, who the fuck is this Jorby guy?
Dude, first impression, because like you had a picture of you on Twitter that looked like you were literally yelling in the picture. So every time I like looked at your tweets, I was like, who the fuck is this loud ass dude? Oh, he's so loud.
Very loud. It's so, I remember the first online tournament that I did that had like a substantial amount of viewers, like over 1,000. It was a afternoon EU Gfinity that Achieves was casting, and they needed someone else like that moment. And I was off work that day, so I was like, hell yeah, I can cast. Let's do this. And it just came out of nowhere. First Gfinity, and I go in with Achieves, and we start casting this thing. Had never talked to Achieves in my life at that point. And like, so I'm doing the play-by-play, I'm doing my thing, but it is just unfiltered, unrefined, rage hype and just constant screaming into the microphone. And I remember Cheese was like giggling at times during the cast, but Twitch chat was the worst I'd ever seen it. Everybody in all caps is like, why is this dude constantly fucking yelling all the time? I'm so sick of this. And it's funny how those comments never really seem to go away, even 3 years after the fact. But regardless, actually, it's like 2 years after the fact. It doesn't matter. The point is that I remember after that cast, and she was like, that was probably the most fun I've had in a cast in a very long time. It's like, I could not stop smiling that whole time. And then she was like, gave me a couple pointers. He's like, you remind me when I first started casting, which he'd only been casting for like 4 months beyond me at that point. It was probably a little bit longer than that, but he's like, when I first started, I was also yelling. And like picturing Achieves yelling now is really difficult. So
yes. I think last time he yelled was like at E-League.
It was yeah.
Because everyone was like, "Did he just yell?" I was like, "I never
like,
knew I wanted this."
That was the first E-League when G2.
Yeah.
Who did they beat? I forget who they beat, but it was a semifinal that
It was really close. Like Rizzo, I think like made a goal line save or something.
Wasn't it Dignitas or Gale Force at the time? I don't remember.
Because like my brain said PSG, but like I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, no, I definitely remember that moment because I was like, "Oh snap! Okay, guy, do your thing."
Yeah. Well.
But yeah, no, community time. Like, we were all just buds.
Yeah.
That was some.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
And we still are. That's the best thing. The best thing about this whole community.
Yeah. If anything, more people are like friends now than they were back in the day.
Definitely.
Back in the day was a lot of tension, but like.
Well, I remember you were asking me earlier. It's like, what kind of topics were we talking about? Like we've become more of a professional esport now. It's like what were talked about at the time. One of the things that were talked about was, the community organizations. How there were too many of them. We felt splintered, and everyone was trying to put on a show with a $50 prize pool, and community organizations are asking why pros won't show up to their tournaments. And granted, this is pre big prize pool era, so. For the bigger organizations that were putting on like $300 to $500 prize pools, you had your $1,000 monthlies that were going on at the time, and there was a lot of talk about should pros having a responsibility to help prop up these community organizations because they were a big part of the scene. They were what we had at the time. So more pro participation meant more people showing up, which meant more people watching. And like that was one of the biggest conversations going on at the time. And because of that splintered community, it's like everyone had their own little factions. And while we're still kind of in our separate spheres now, there are fewer spheres that are bigger now. Like all of the community guys, they'll all chill out in like some of their discords, but like people like interchange discords way more than they used to. And because we're past that point. We've outgrown it. The scene has matured, and so has the community.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about it nowadays, like everyone just wants to be involved now. It's not even about like making this production great. It's just about being involved for the most part.
It was Market they beat. Okay. Thank you, John. Sorry. Continue, Des.
Yeah, so it wasn't about all of that. I mean, like it isn't like back then it was really, like you said, like more of a competition type deal, but like now it's just like after everyone exhausted all of their funds and their resources, after a lot of people just flat out gave up, and like after a lot of people even moved on, like not moved on but moved forward into better positions.
I think we've matured. We've matured.
Like you got.
I mean, it kind of. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say you got Strangers who was doing observing for DreamHack Dallas, and then now he's doing that at the World Championship. You got Quint that's with him as well. From those are both rival people. I mean, in terms of like Nexus, I mean, if Stump wasn't in college, I think he'd still be like majorly involved as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Stump was a workhorse before he graduated high school.
which is
And
crazy because he just
I don't
graduated
ever,
high school.
yeah, I don't ever think he gets enough credit for what he did in the early days. But
Yeah,
I'll always sing Stump's praises for what he did.
yeah. So like, and
But
now,
yeah, everyone kind of moving in direction.
yeah, like those big walls we had have all come down, so to speak, for the most part. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good to be able to like just talk to people now, not have to worry about anything.
Yeah, yeah, we're all just, it's completely in the hands of Psionics. So where they want to take Rocket League esports now is like they took it by the horns, and I think that they've done a great job so far with where the trajectory currently is, and it might not have always looked very good from the outside looking in, but I think that it's showing now that there was some work going on before to really build up to this point. It might have been slower than we all would have wanted, but I think we're getting there. We're getting to a really nice place, and we're all kind of on the ride together, because if Rocket League succeeds, we all succeed. So
Pretty
that's what we all
much.
come together on.
Yeah, pretty much. And like after like me speaking to the team, like I understand how, just like what's going on, and it's like you gotta like have faith in the guys because it's not like they want the game to die, you know.
No, no.
At the end of the day, but going back into you and your life, talk to me about now. We can go ahead and continue our journey. So what happens after you start getting settled in the community? What's the next step?
Settled in the community. Next step was so I was still casting Ghost Boosters when I remember PAX East 2017 was coming up, and I really wanted to go, and so I bought tickets to go. And at the time, I get a message from Cloud Fuel. There's a lot of like auxiliary details that don't matter, but point is like Cloud Fuel sends me a DM on Discord one day, and he's like, "Hey, are you going to PAX East?" And I was like, "I am." And he was like, "You already have tickets?" I was like, "I do." And he's like, "Okay, cool, good to know." And I was like, granted, I've talked to Cloud Fuel probably once, like one time before this. Actually, this might have been the first time I ever talked to him. Was him sending me this DM. I'm pretty sure. So he sends me that, and then later in the week, he messages me. He's like, "Hey, just want to let you know we have you on a short list of people we're looking at for PAX East to cast this open we're doing at PAX East 2017." And I was like, "Excuse me? You're doing what? I'm on a what?" Like I'd only been like I've been like at this time I was casting like 5 nights a week on like community tournaments. Like I was casting my balls off because I loved it that much. It was so much fun, and I just wanted to keep doing it. That's how I wanted to spend my time. I was not doing anything else those nights, so why not? And so Cloud sends me that message, and I didn't believe that I was gonna get it. It's like, okay, I'm on a short list. It doesn't really mean anything. And then a week later, I get an email from Psionics reaching out, being like, "We'd like to offer you the play-by-play position at PAX East 2017." And I remember looking at that email, and I stared at it for a long time, and I was just in utter disbelief at it. It was like they were going to pay me for it, and I was going to go to Boston at PAX East, a place that I've been trying to go to for years. At that point, I was like, I'd love to go to a gaming convention. First gaming convention I ever go to, and I'm going to be casting at an event there. And then it's literally one out of the 4 days of PAX. So it's one day of casting that I get paid for that pretty much pays for like what I got paid, pretty much paid for my trip. And I went and just hung out at PAX for the rest of the weekend. And it was wild. I remember Tuster and Torment were the two players who won that 2v2 open. So one of those guys went on to become a superstar. But it was crazy. It was honestly crazy. Like that was the next step. There wasn't me thinking like what was the next step. It was like I'm gonna keep grinding this. I'm gonna keep this casting thing up, and it's like I'm gonna keep talking to people. And man, it'd be really cool to like do the RLCS. Was like a thought I always had, but it was never like it never seemed like a goal that I could reach. But I definitely had the ambition. So I kept casting and hoped that like someone would end up like noticing me and keep trying to improve and keep trying to be better. And so PAX East was the door.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was. I remember that one mainly because I remember it because of how mad Stacks was that he couldn't go.
Oh my gosh. We it was joked about back and forth. Stacks likes to give me a hard time about it now, but yeah, fun times.
Oh man, if there's anything I love, it's ruining Stacks' day. If Stacks, I hope you're watching.
Poor Stacks. Poor Stacks.
But yeah, so there was that, right? There was PAX East. I actually went to my first PAX East earlier this year. It happened.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it happened by chance.
You have a good time?
Yeah, yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
It was pretty
PAX
cool.
East, PAX East is lit, dude.
Yeah, CJ hit
Straight
me
up.
I got to work it. So yeah, no, that was a good time. Yeah, like you said, it was really big. It was crazy. I was like, oh snap, this is like,
Hell yeah, dude.
I never knew what it was. So it was like I just walked in and I was like, this is
This
like
was- that's-
this is like
that's what
kind of
this
like
is.
games. I was like, there's like a bunch of games here. They're like, yeah, this is PAX. I'm like, so that was fun.
It's great.
But yeah, no. So you kept grinding. Afterwards, you're like, all right, let's keep doing this. And then what?
Was doing more of it, and really that was when like the talkback had really like kicked up afterwards. And I remember it was like the beginning of June of that year, and I get an email from Face It, and Face It sounded familiar to me. I'm like, don't these guys do like CS:GO stuff? And I I opened this email from Face It, and they're like, hey, we have 2 events coming up that we'd like you to be a part of. Would you like when would you like to have a conversation? So I get on the Skype and I talk with a couple of guys at Face It, and they're like, yeah, so Rocket League's going to be at the X Games, and you are one of the guys that we're looking at to do it. And I was like, so Rocket League at the what? Who's on the list of what? Sorry, did you say like the ESPN X Games, like that one? He's like, yeah, and there's also another opportunity after that for NBC, and I was like, NBC.
Oh man, we gotta talk about that too. Like
NBC and X Games. They're like, yeah, and I was like, huh, me, and they're like, yeah, and I was like, huh, okay. I'm like, I'm not gonna question you further than that, but I'm just making sure that you got the right Jorby. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, you want to pick me for this? And I don't. Why would you want me? Hello, me? I feel like I just started doing this. So that was wild to me, and that was like getting the X Games was. I shared it with literally everyone that I knew. It was like, I'm going to Minneapolis to go cast a Rocket League tournament at the X Games. And like everyone was just, I remember everyone in my life outside of the Rocket League community was nothing but like super supportive about it. Some thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and my family was also very supportive of it. And I wanted to do it. And it was when I got that email, or when I had that conversation and they told me that they wanted to pick me, that Psyonix handed Face It a list of casters, and that I was on that list at all, told me that I might actually have a chance at this thing, that I might actually be able to do this. It's like PAX East was the primer where it's like, that was cool. I did that 5K open. That was the biggest thing I've ever done. It's like, now how do I progress from here? And the only thing I knew how to do is what I've already been doing. So I was grinding community tournaments, and I get X Games, and I'm like, I can do this. I can actually do this. It wasn't easy after that, but like it was such a big opportunity where I leapfrogged my way up, and that's why it was so unbelievable to me to do what was a major at the time. And yeah, it was crazy, man.
It's crazy.
It was crazy. It is crazy. This whole thing is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I remember that tournament, not because of you. For some reason, like at that point, you were kind of just like already stapled in my brain. I was like, oh, okay, like Jorby's doing the thing. Like it was surprising to me that you were doing X Games. Is pretty much what I'm saying. Take it out of you. I think it's a compliment, but
I was surprising to me too. So,
but for me, I think at that same time, it was like Achieves was there, so was Fickle, and like a lot of people were looking at them at the time. And then I'll never forget because Achieves one night posted his entire dresser of just notes.
Yep, I remember that.
Of just straight flat notes. He's like, all right, wrote all my notes down. And I was like, that's a lot of notes. and like, yeah. I mean, obviously everyone was like, that's a lot of notes. But for me, it was like, that's a lot of notes that like aren't on his, like separate. Because they were literally like piece of paper here, piece of paper here, piece of paper here. I'm like, he's gonna have a hard time like looking through those. And then like the next day when he's on the broadcast, he's like, oh yeah, just gotta flip through my notes. He's like, I got flip through my notes. It's like all this paper everywhere. And I'm like, I knew this was gonna happen. Oh man, but that one was a really, really good time. I mean, that's definitely a memorable moment in Rocket League for a bunch of reasons, right? Obviously, that was a big opportunity for all you guys. You did a really good job there. I remember that because we were all sitting there in TeamSpeak just like watching and talking about it. But like also for some of the RL Esports fans out there, that was the only time NRG won a major. So,
yep, with Jacob is the only time NRG has won a major. So, and that was against Gale Force at the time, which was post season 3 championships. Am I crazy? Yeah. Because it was Northern Gaming.
You're right.
And then Gale Force. Yes.
Yeah, that's when the roster move first started.
Right. Because Turbo was the starter for that X Games major, I remember. Yep. Season 3 was so funny.
And that was when they got second place in everything until they finally started winning.
Yeah, it was like 3 straight majors they got second place, and then they became Dignitas, or they became Gale Force. They were Gale Force, and then they were Dignitas, dominant, yada yada. But Season 3 World Championship was the first World Championship I went to, and I remember the conversation I had with someone at the time where we're both talking about like our trajectory and like what we're going to be doing and like where we're going to be going and like where we'd like to be like even just a year from now or like 2 years from now. And it's like for him, it was being about getting more involved in the industry, whichever way it was, but he wanted to work in esports. He's like, this is what I want to do with my living. And I'm like, I want to cast the grand finals of the RLCS. And is like, that was like my goal. Like that, to me, that was pinnacle. Is like, if I could get to there, then I know that that was success to me at the time. And like after that conversation, that drunken Korean barbecued conversation, it was like it solidified it in my brain that like I was gonna keep working hard at this and like grind my ass off and try to get every opportunity and make sure that I'm always being noticed somehow, some way. So that was one part I wanted to mention, and I couldn't remember if that was before or after X Games. It all starts to like muddle together in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely didn't have that talk with you.
No, it wasn't with you. I know who it was, but
okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like, I don't even remember like half the conversations I had there. I do remember sharing an Airbnb with the cheese and like one morning.
Do you remember going to Leaf and Lawler's Airbnb after the World Championship?
Oh my god! Before that, okay, before you do that, let me tell you this story. Let me tell you this story. So like, me and the Chiefs are we both have the same room in this big Airbnb. It's me, Chiefs, Puff, Mason, Alstedo. There was Puff, Mason, and Stacks. I think that was it. And like I said, me and the Chiefs had the same room by the door. I remember one day I turned over and like his eyes were open. I looked at him, I was like, "Good morning, sunshine," and he flipped me off. It was so funny. Cause he's like hiding under the blanket like this, and then you just see That was great. But tell me about this this thing I wish I forgot at this
well, you probably do forget half of it, but Love you.
Uh,
No, it was me, you, Achieves, Leaf, and Lawler. And I just remember us chilling in that Airbnb. We bought a bunch of drinks. We played drunk Mario Kart, and
oh, so
your ass
bad.
got whipped. It was
It was so
amazing.
bad. It wasn't
It
even
was
like
amazing because you had to drink 2 full beers because your ass couldn't win. You couldn't do shit.
But that was, like
great.
because there was a lot of
great.
different things I was doing for the first time there.
Yeah,
The beer in the glass bottle, I remember that.
Yeah, beer in the glass bottle.
They're like, don't suck the bottle, just let it fall.
It's baby's first beer.
Anyways, and then I didn't play Mario Kart like that on the Switch. I was like, I don't even know how to do this. There's a lot of things there.
It's easy. You just move your fingers on the controller and then you drive.
If we play that now,
yeah,
you'd get destroyed.
I doubt it.
You'd get destroyed.
100% doubt that. 100%.
We'll have Leaf get another Airbnb.
I think that was the last time I played Mario Kart. So
no, I did play at yeah, I played at Pluto. Me and Pluto had an Airbnb at season 4, and he brought Mario Kart, and then I lost a lot more, but I'm a different man now. I'm doing big things. I'm doing better things.
I'm sure.
Anyways, season 3, gnarly. No, we aren't even at gnarly yet. We'll get to gnarly. What happened after X Games?
NBC happened.
Right.
Universal Open, and despite what happened during the qualifiers, it ended up being pretty. That was a crazy experience as well. It's like I'd been a part of only 2 other live productions before that. One was in a tent that was hot as sin in Minneapolis, and the other was like TV, network television, and NBC operated on a completely different level from anything that I had ever been a part of. But they were like super open, and that was crazy. The whole NBC experience in general was something that, like, it was my second event where like I had a host or someone I interacted with who was like far above any kind of station I thought I had any right to be in. For PAX East, it was Golden Boy. That was the first time I had ever met Golden Boy, and Golden Boy was someone who like I was just a fan of at the time, and he was back in the backstage at PAX East, and we're both back there just eating on whatever like snack trays that they had, and that was a crazy moment for me. And then Rachel Seltzer for NBC, and that was also crazy. All of it was just
season, right?
That was first season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was grand finals.
Oh.
Or it wasn't Seltzer was second season, sorry.
Yeah.
You were right. Kevin Naki
Yeah.
was first season, and I only did the grand finals during the first season, but that was just a crazy experience in general for me. Like I'd been on television, and what more do you want me to say to that? Like I didn't know what to say. So here I am telling you that I didn't know what to say.
LOL. Yeah, but no, like my experience, like although I'm not broadcast talent, I still had an experience with that. Not even like talking about season 2 where we hung out, but season 1, when they were in Chicago, and this was back when Prindiville was running it before he decided, hey, I want to run an esports team. So let me own Dignitas. Let
me just straight up CEO this right out the gate.
Yeah, no, he was doing URL, and I met him in person, and then he followed me on Twitter, and like I don't think he even knew why he followed me on Twitter. The only reason he followed me on Twitter was because I knew Hanzo and D-Pants, and Hanzo and D-Pants were there. And
those are 2 legends, to be fair.
Yeah, and like they got but that's not how I got in there. I got in there because Karma and Pluto were playing in the Chicago qualifiers, and they could bring a 1+ in. So I kind of like got in through them. And then I was just chilling. I was like, "What's up, Hanzo?" He's like, "Dad, what's up?" Da, da, da. And like the girl who brought us all in here is just looking at me like, "Who is this guy? Who is this?"
I don't recognize this one.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Prindiville was mad, like excited about Rocket League. He was at X Games to check out that event because he was kind of doing just research for like in the lead up to NBC. And I remember talking to Prindiville at X Games, and like the dude was just super passionate about it. Like Mike Prindiville fully believes in this esport. I think the whole community knows that now, based on like, after his after like him being with Dignitas, and like there's a lot coming out with Prindiville and like how passionate he is about this particular game.
Mhm.
Like that was always there. Like that didn't come out of nowhere after he
Right.
started owning Dignitas. Like he was like that when he was running things over at NBC.
Yeah. And it was a very interesting time too. I remember when D-Pins and Mish walked in. They had no idea I was there. And they walked in, and then D-Pins is like, "Holy, come here, give me a hug." And they're
Yeah,
showing D-Pants around the
yeah.
studio because they're like, "And this is the break room," and then he sees me, he's like, and then the girl got even more confused, and she was like, "Oh well, follow me, Dave, Michelle, and Mystery Man. I don't just come on." So I got
Come
I
here,
got a tour
mystery
with
man.
them. I
The
remember
mystery man.
I remember that because that was the first time I met Christine, and she was working, obviously, like doing the sitting right next to the observer, doing all that stuff. Super quiet room. Um, and then that ended up. That was that. Season 2, we went out. That was a fun time. That was the first time I had been out in my own city. Um, and then we had that
That was a great time.
experience. We had that experience with the dude in the TV. So guys, like,
Oh my
I'm not gonna
god.
say too much about this, but for those who know, or for those who don't know,
I whipped Daz's ass in Brawl Out. That's all you got to know first.
you won maybe
I
like
did.
one more game in a set. I think
I
it
think
was
it was
like
like I think it was like 2 more sets than you in total.
yeah,
That was
that's about it. Like,
and two of them were full stocked. So
you know, honestly, I can take that only because it's a lot better than achieves in Smash. Like a few
oh, I
weeks
am
ago.
nowhere near as bad as the Chiefs
That one
when it comes to gloating. Not even close.
that
Not
one
even
was
close.
rough because I definitely thought I could beat him and I lost. But I
Yeah,
was also
your pride got hurt.
yeah, I couldn't feel my there's I have my own reasons for that loss. I think like
Mm-hmm.
we play
Mm-hmm.
again and I'm fine. But anyways, all I'm saying, guys, 5-star hotels have really complicated TVs. Now,
It's
moving on.
true.
Universal Open happened. That was fantastic. Where was your head at that point?
Heads in the clouds, honestly. It's like you go through like the day to day with everything, and it never really like what you're doing is ridiculous, but you're still doing it. And it was right before the end of season 2 of the Universal Open that I was actually thinking about cutting and going and doing this full time. Um, and so that was going in my brain at the time. So I'm just trying to do all the calculations in my head about like trying to leave my very safe network engineering job and going into the world of casting, which has no guarantees whatsoever. Uh, Makes no logical sense, and no guarantees for the RLCS or anything. I'd already done 2 seasons of Rival Series by the time um, UO2 came around. So like my headspace is like just keep grinding. We got Rival Series coming up, and then it was after that that I had gotten. Let's see, last summer was UO2, and then right after that was CRL. So I got CRL in the fall, and that was big. That was way big, and it was in that little space in between where my headspace was kind of like I need a big gig if I want to, like, I need something solid if I want to do this full time. I'd already moved out to Los Angeles. I was already I like at the like before UO2 started. Sorry, again, timelines are getting mixed up. I had already moved out to Los Angeles, quit my job at Verizon, and started working at NGE, the production company that does the RLCS. I started doing league ops work for them for some other games, and I was doing contract work like that, and it was a full-time gig. It didn't pay a lot, but it was something in between while I tried to establish myself. um while I tried to establish myself, I thought moving to Los Angeles would give me more chances at gigs because I'm a cheaper talent. They can get me for cheaper. So if I can get like whether it be other games or maybe I could get more Rocket League gigs out of this. I don't know how, but like my mind at the time was like I could do this to get other games, really diversify, and really give myself multiple avenues to choose from. So that's where my head was at. And then I got CRL, and when I knew how much work CRL was going to be, I was already working with NGE with my casting gig with Rival Series already. And it was going to be like right at the conclusion of that CRL was going to start, and it was too many days that I wasn't going to be available. So I'm like, I have to walk away from this NGE job if I do the CRL thing. And I fought with that for a while. And it was I had to take a leap of faith. I had to buy into my own trajectory. It's like, I'm getting this CRL gig. Like I've been getting nothing but good feedback as far as like the people that actually matter in terms of me having a job. And like if I really want to dedicate to this, like this is it. Like this is the gig I was waiting for me to be able to make the jump. But it was still so scary because it's event to event pay. I don't know when the next thing is going to happen, but like I took that jump. I did CRL, and it kept piling on after that. It's like after the third season of Rival Series, I get told I'm going to the RLCS. And then CRL Spring happens too. And like all these gigs just keep lining up. I got E-League in December. And then I did Leipzig in February. And then right after that was the RLCS season 7. And like I never, the grind of being in Rival Series for 3 seasons and constantly wondering like what you have to do to make sure you stand out above everybody else that you're competing with, people that you love, but people that like, but you still trying to do the best for you. And the fact that it just kept happening for me is like, there was never really time for me to breathe, man. Like I didn't have time to like sit and think about my headspace and think about where I was, because things just kept happening, and it blows me away.
It's still happening.
It just like, I really don't understand it. Like I was standing in my kitchen yesterday and had a moment where it hit me, and it's like those moments, it's not like a constant hitting of like, wow, this is what I do for a living. It's like that comes like that only comes every once in a while, where you look at something that reminds you of an event that you did and you're like, damn, I did that. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, I did this. And like sitting where I am like right now, and I'm like, it's nuts. It's really nuts. Yeah, the long answer to your question, Daz, the short answer is I never had time to really think.
Yeah. Like you said, all over the place, which is a good indication of that, because I pretty much have your timeline like written out here. Like I have like the write up of everything.
Oh, you have the whole thing. Yeah, bullet points.
Yeah, and I just like watched you just bounce around everything, and I was just like, okay, but no, like you said, for you it just never seemed, you never had a chance to stop, so it all just was going on. But it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't an easy process, and I think before we get any further, we do have to look back and like talk to me about Northern Arena.
Northern Arena, my favorite Rocket League broadcast I've ever been a part of, and that is the most untrue statement I've probably ever uttered, and I've said a lot of untrue shit. So gnarly, good old gnarly. This is the first gnarly. I didn't do gnarly 2. Just a hard to describe gnarly. It was something where it got hit on me very last minute, and I didn't have a passport, and I had to get a passport within 2 weeks because that's when I was notified that they wanted to bring me in to do it. So I got my passport within 2 weeks, and I was still living in Raleigh at the time, and I had flown out to Los Angeles for something else. I don't remember what, but in that span of time, I went, expedited my passport, which is like $200 to get in a single day, or like they'll get it to you by the day before whenever your flight leaves. So the day before I leave for Toronto, I get my passport, and then we go. And Toronto's great, especially when you're with Leaf, because Leaf is just so fun to hang out with. But the production itself was not fun. We had a lot of issues, and there were controller issues from the players that weren't getting easily resolved. One player, I think, lost his controller at one point and couldn't find it. I couldn't hear my co-caster half the time. It was really just like it was a lot of things went wrong. And there's not really like any like one person to like point blame at or anything, and that's not what I'm doing here. It's just kind of setting the stage for like what's going on in my head when this is all happening. And the biggest moment from that was having to stall for 30 minutes with Subi, and Subi is as green as I am, and like him and I have never had to stall for a half hour before. And so it was okay for the first 10 minutes, but then, or I don't even know if it was okay for the first 10 minutes, but I know those latter 20 were the worst time I've ever had on broadcast in my entire life. I could not hear Subi. I had to try to listen for his muffled voice over the headset. I couldn't take the headset off because we were still on camera. We never got a chance to think or like adjust because the camera was always on us while production were trying to figure things out. And I remember feeling awful after that broadcast, and I was in my hotel room, and this is where like my face is in Reddit, my face is on the VOD because I just wanted to see how bad it was. And like I got reamed, I got blasted on Reddit and in Twitch chat as well. And it's like Twitch chat's whatever, like you don't take anything Twitch chat so seriously, but it was who was in Twitch chat that was saying stuff that really got to me. And really, because it was people that I either looked up to or people that I aspired to be or wanted to impress, and those were the people that were mocking me, even if it was indirectly as the casters. And I remember I had said it in that interview that I had last week, that I almost right there decided I was going to quit after that event. Like I had never been so thoroughly torn apart by so many people, and notable people too. And like it was that really got to me, because it's like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Like, how am I supposed to prove to these people that I can do better? Yeah. And like I felt like a terrible caster because I couldn't stall for 30 minutes. And it's like I didn't blame anybody but myself, right, for not being able to perform. And that's what really cut me. And I gave legitimate thought to stopping right there. I was like, I'm gonna quit. That's it.
Because you just felt like you let everybody down.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it again in that moment. But I have a wonderful support system in Rocket League, and like you guys, like I just got started getting involved in the RLC, and I had everyone at Nexus, and like all of them were a big reason why I stayed. Like all of you guys are the biggest reason why I stayed. And it didn't take long for me to like get over it and be like, it doesn't matter what any of these other people think. It doesn't matter how they feel about me. Like what matters is how I bounce back, and my motivation is to prove all of them wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny too, because that's like the same advice you gave me the other day, kind of, in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, like I know that one was really tough on you, so to speak. It was just tough in general. I remember watching it.
It was fun to watch.
Depends on your definition of fun. Depends on your definition of fun, for sure.
Oh man.
I was moving around when I was watching it, so I had it up every now and then. I remember I was sitting at my computer on TeamSpeak watching it, and just like, damn, they're really tearing him up. I do remember that. I said that a lot.
Oh yeah.
I do remember like I was moving around, I was looking on my phone watching, and I was like, they're still stalling, because like you said, it went on for like 30 minutes. And at that point, like, I just feel like they should have just cut the break. Like, that's just something you just cut the break on. I don't understand that, but like, there's only so much you can do now thinking about it in hindsight. But
that's why like it's focused on, I can only really give you like how I felt about the experience without, saying too much about what could have been done.
Yeah,
A lot of things could have been done, but none of that really matters.
yeah, exactly. So, like you said, that had happened. Was there anything, whether it's personal life or in the esports scene, that was really a challenge up until season 7? Like, was Gnarly the biggest one? And if so, what was the second biggest?
Dealing with a long swath of no events between Rival Series Season 1 and Rival Series Season 2. Between those two seasons, Achieves, I remember having a conversation with him during Season 1, Season 1 of Rival Series, being like concerned. It's like, wonder like what happens in the next season. I remember talking with him about that, and then I remember I got nothing between seasons 1 and 2 of Rival Series, and I thought that was it. Like, that was the end, and that I wasn't going to get picked up for anything else. That was hard to deal with mentally. But then, like, after season 2, it was never really a question anymore. That was probably that, and Gnarly were two. I would say the time between events between season 1 and season 2 of Rival Series was tougher on me because of like how repetitive it was. Where when 3 events happen in between seasons and you don't get any of them, and some of your peers on Rival Series do get them, you start to feel a bit inadequate, and like that you have been picked against, if you will. Like, other people have been picked and you have missed the train, is what it felt like. It really felt that way. And there was no guarantee any of us were coming back for season 2 of Rival Series, because season 1 was PRL. And then season 2 was being picked up by Psionics. So there was like no guarantees at all. So the fact that I got to stay on for season 2 was definitely like a reaffirming and making me feel a little bit better that, okay, at least I haven't been like, ostracized and forgotten, and I didn't miss the train.
Yeah.
But it still feels like the train is leaving and I'm barely getting there. So that was probably the toughest.
Okay. Yeah, that's understandable. And relatable. LOL.
Yeah.
I don't
Look,
know.
man,
I kind of always what?
I'm just going to say is that it's always painful. It's always painful in that moment. And like, it's always funny when you look back on it, because it's almost like it never happened, especially when the good things start happening, And I know you know that, and you definitely know that.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's always an end. There's always an end, even if it really doesn't feel like there is.
Man, it's just, I don't know. There's just so much that's happened for me personally that like I don't get too caught up over it. Yeah. I've always been doing like all these other like kind of third party events, like I did the mixer. PAX was cool. And it's just I've just been doing me,
Hell yeah, man.
I feel like if you get caught up in stuff like that, like it'll just stick on you, and then it'll become you in a way.
Yep.
So there's no point in just like looking at that. Like, we all have like bad days, like everyone has bad days. Everyone goes through tough times, but like, you just, if you're really passionate about it, you're just gonna keep going. So just keep going. At the end of the day, that being said, you kept going after Gnarly. And like you said, you Rival Series Season 2. You told me the path of how you were moving forward. You told me your goal of being able to cast at a RLCS Grand Final, and you have recently achieved that goal. So, speak to me about when you found out that you were casting the Grand Final. What was that like?
Well, I get a call that's like, "Hey, how's your voice doing?" And I'm like, my voice is feeling pretty good. And they're like, okay, good. How would you feel about casting with James tomorrow? I know you two haven't casted together this weekend. I'm like, casting with James is like riding a bike. It doesn't matter if we haven't casted this weekend, we'll be fine together. And so she was like, okay. And then not too long after, I get an email with the talent rotation, and I am on the very last game with James Bot on the talent rotation. And it was like that. It was very PAX East 2017 email moment where I just kind of stared at it. I just kind of stared at the talent rotation and I like zoomed in a little bit on it to like make sure that that actually said Jorby. Um, and I still can't believe it. I could stare at it now and not believe it. It's it's like Daz, I really wish I could give you words to describe how that moment felt to me, but there isn't. Like language is too poor a medium to describe the feeling that I was going to be cast in the grand final the very next day, and I was so excited to do it. It's like it wasn't nervousness, it wasn't scared, there was no fear. It was all excitement. And I remember that day I was only cast in 2 games, the last quarterfinal and the grand final. And James and I casted the quarterfinal, and it was really it was great. Felt good. Okay, good to go. And James and I are standing up there before the grand final, and the whole wave is going on out in the crowd. And
Dude.
I thought about the moment for a second when I was standing up there, and I was like recognizing the feeling that I was having, and I'm like, I'm in my element right now. It was like I felt 100% comfortable standing up there, like in that anticipation moment, waiting to cast the grand final. And the fact that I felt comfortable was like that surprised me in that moment so much that I was that comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a testament to how much that I feel like I've matured um in my journey, in that like it felt like I earned this. And I truly felt that. And so like casting the grand final and casting that game 1, God, I wish, like, part of me wishes the rest of that series was like that game 1, because that was an incredible game. But I was so happy the rest of that series is like just the crowd is like this muffled noise outside of your earphones, and like you can hear them, and it's actually hard to hear them when they're not like actually ear deafening when you have the headphones off, because those headphones block out a lot of noise. But I could hear them. And so something funny that really happened that I have to share that happened was so I was standing in front of the casting desk. We had a bunch of big monitors for our a bunch of big observer monitors, and there's a lot of space in between the desk and the monitors. And I like to stand up, and I like to be able to move around. I really enjoy that. So I would stand in front of the desk, and our box with the mic was behind me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm casting, and I'm like full on, like standing. I'm like out here, and I'm like getting ready. I'm like looking at the monitor like this, and I'm like moving around, and I'm like, KDOP does this, KDOP does that. Doesn't matter. Like I'm moving around back and forth. And they did not make my cable long enough, because I don't think they ever expected somebody to go around and move around like that. And um, it was like game 2 or 3. No, it was game 5 when G2 tied the game with like 30 odd some seconds left, and I like did like a half spin around in a circle, and it ripped the audio feed out of the box in
Oh my
my
god.
in my headset. And so like I am commentating, and I could still hear myself out in the arena. Like I could hear the echo of myself, so I knew that like they didn't lose my mic. And James was still talking, but I couldn't hear James. I could hear nothing. I had no game audio. I had zero, because I accidentally ripped it out. And we're in the process of like trying to fix it while we're casting the game. So it was like a solid 45 seconds of gameplay. I was casting with absolutely no audio, and it was fine. I wasn't even worried about it. It's like I can still hear everything. We're playing Rocket League. It's the grand finals. I'm not gonna stop. Um, so fun,
Okay.
so fun.
Now I have the grand finals right here, right? That moment right before the grand finals. I don't know if you can hear it, but I will send you the link because
Yeah, give me the link. I'll watch it.
I wanna like go through this with you. All right. You got that?
I got that. Let's go.
All right. Wait for me. I'm still trying to set this up.
I'm waiting. I'm still waiting.
All right. So
all right, I got to pause.
You're still at the same timestamp as me?
I'm at 6:30:28 because it wouldn't pause.
LOL.
You gotta wait. You tell me when.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Years.
Up to this
he is
moment.
waiting for this moment right now. All weekend, we have seen that trophy in the middle of the stage. Nobody has touched it. No one gets to touch it unless you win the championship. 3 of these players will get to hoist
So, like, what's it like? Just kind of talk me through all this.
So this whole thing's happening, and I'm looking at the crowd right now. Like, I'm standing at the railing where the end of our balcony is, and I'm just looking out towards the crowd, and I'm watching the jumbotron and looking at the predictions. I'm waiting for the producer to tell me to get set in order to turn around, but I just wanted to take in the entire atmosphere because you can kind of see it behind them. They're still doing the wave, and that's what I was watching. It was like that whole time was just kind of sitting in silence and like waiting.
Cannot ignore the fact of how well they played. I've never seen Rocket League like that, and they're going to bring it out here against G2.
Man, love them or hate them, these G2 fans, they would.
I remember seeing all of them pick Vitality, and I was really surprised. I actually thought Lawler was going to go G2, and I remember thinking like, wait. Is Wave about to pick Vitality too? Are we really gonna do that?
Yeah.
And then he was like, G2. I was like, there we go, Wave. Someone's gotta pick poor G2.
That crowd blew up.
The crowd was nuts, and very happy with how the crowd was for Vitality, especially like about halfway through the series. Is like that game 1 was definitely the best, but like the whole series after that was still fantastic. It's like people love Scrub, man. People love Scrub. People love K-Dot. People love Fairy Pete. Look at those lights. That's crazy.
But it is time for our grand finals, and to bring it to you, it's Jorby and James.
Thank you so much, Lee. One more game, James. 3 days of competition. It leads down.
Ah, yes, and my top button wouldn't stay buttoned at all. And it's very clear how short I am as well. It's like James is standing tall right there, and like I feel like I'm trying to come up the bottom of the camera. Like I'm trying not to get sucked in.
Yeah, look, you still got the wave going on behind us. I always wanted to like have the casters be shown on the jumbotron. I understand why they don't do it, but like I've always wanted to be like, I want to see them. And like it's so funny because you can like kind of see you guys in that camera, but I mean we already know what happens next, and we're gonna cut back, and like when they give you the throw off, like, does it kind of just take over at this point? Is it kind of you just kind of like get into it and you're already in the zone?
Yeah, you're in the zone. It's like you started off, and all the only worrying moment you have is catching the throw. Catch the throw well, move it right to James. James brings up the next point. Now we're talking about Rocket League just like any other game, except this is just much more grandiose. And so bringing that quality, bringing the commentary to that grandiose level, being like, this is the grand finals. Other than that, it was all just natural flow after that. And I casted with James so many times. Like him and I did DreamHack Dallas. Like he was the only person I casted with at DreamHack Dallas, and casted with him several times over the RLCS season. And James and I have developed quite a synergy together. We're very good at feeling each other out, and it's a really fun duo for me. I love casting with James. So the fact that he was the one I was going to be with to do the grand final, I think that I was so comfortable, in part because James was my co-casters, because like James and I did the grand finals at DreamHack Dallas, and in my opinion, I thought both of us did a great job at Dallas. And so like, why can't we do a great job here at the RLCS Grand Finals? James casted the last one as play-by-play. So now he does this one as color with me. I just got to make sure I hold up my end of the bargain. It's just like any other cast James and I have done. Let's go. And that was it.
And boom. And like, after you were done, give me like that. How was that? Like, what did you do immediately after?
Well, James and I, right after the final call and we were told we were done, it's like we both were like, and then just, oh, it feels so good, baby. Oh, one of the best moments of my life.
That's awesome, dude. I'm very happy for you. You know I was happy for you. I've been telling you like that forever. I was like, we gotta get Jorby on a grand final. I told you on a grand final. It didn't have to be that one. It was just one. I was like, I need Jorby cast in the hype matches. Who do I gotta talk to? I mean, I didn't talk to anybody, but like,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy, man. I know that. Like,
oh, wait, Jorby?
I've shared with you personally, like my whole, like you've been a part of my journey almost the whole way through. So it's like, you know, how half of this shit went down to begin with, you know. Yeah. But it's weird. It's weird to talk about it, but to reminisce about it is like I have nothing but a smile on my face because like I did it. I fucking did it.
You fucking did it, dude. Oh, it's so good.
I fucking did it. Oh man. Yeah. Yep, that's all I got. That's all I got.
Okay. Show's over, guys.
Yeah. You got the pre-show jibber jabber. Nothing more.
I do have one more thing to talk to you about,
yeah. Yeah.
Right. So coming up, we're just looking through some stuff that's been going on in the Rocket League scene right now. Nothing too major. We're not going to go through the entire Reddit, but what is coming up starting tomorrow will be DreamHack Valencia. That'll be a very, very interesting tournament.
I am so excited for Valencia. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, I'm going to flash the groups up for everybody to check out on their screen there. And here, I'll throw you a link so it's easy.
No, I got it.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
I see the stream.
All right. Live your best life. Thoughts on this? Thoughts on the groups? Thoughts on the entire tournament? Like, what's going through your mind here? Because there's a lot to look at.
There's a lot to take in. It's this is why are DreamHacks always this stacked? It is amazing, and I hate it because you can't actually make anything out of half of these groups. Like Pool A, all right, Vitality, TSM. I just have a feeling are going to show up at a one-off LAN because that's how TSM are. It's like they suck online, but you put them on LAN, and all of a sudden they play Rocket League. Complexity, I still think is on the uptick. Splice is a more interesting one because it's almost a brand new roster. At least it feels like a brand new roster. Ground Zero Gaming, while it wasn't like the best showing from them at Worlds, I think Worlds is going to help them. I don't think it's going to get them out of this pool. Mount Gang which is going to win the tournament, obviously.
Mount Gang.
And the other two that I'm not too familiar with, Notorious Legion and Bremen, but the top row that you see there, those are your 4 teams that are coming out of that. Yeah. That's a pretty much a no-brainer to me. I think that this Splice team is a very dangerous one, and they're still a question mark for me, but it's like they're in the dark horse category where I wouldn't be surprised to see them pop off and do well in this tournament, but it really remains to be seen. It's not an easy pool at all. Yeah. The other pools are a little tighter. The whole way down at Pool D. Pool D is ugly. This is the ugliest group that you could have. It's like you have NRG still with Fireburner's last tournament. You got Rogue, who like just seemingly get better with every tournament. Then you have New Look Dignitas with Astral. It's Astral's first tournament. We don't know what to expect on a Turbo List team. You have Randy Gibbons River Rats
with Turbo,
which is with Turbo, and honestly, I don't know what the fuck to think about Classics, Corrupted G, and Turbo Pulsa. That sounds like it could be the worst thing to ever happen or the best thing to ever happen. But I'm with Lawler yesterday when he did his predictions on stream. He's like, they had one chance. They could have just named themselves Randy Gibbons, and it would have been the best name in the whole world, but instead they had to go with River Rats, which I still think is great, but I definitely agree that Randy Gibbons alone would have been better. And then the Chiefs as well. We didn't see them at Worlds, but it's going to be that group's going to be crazy. I think that again, you're looking at your top 4. You your top 4 being who comes out of that pool: NRG, Rogue, Dig, and Randy Gibbons, River Rats.
Yeah.
I think that those 3 are good enough to get out of this pool. It's like, I'm not sure that fillers, maybe not. I don't really know. I can't really say. Servette, no. Fuck it. The other 2 pools.
Yeah, I think like for me, Pool C has to be the tightest one.
Pool C?
Yeah, I think that's the one where you don't necessarily know who's going to be the top 4 too much.
Yeah, because I guess you got Method, and Aeriality maybe could make a wave, but maybe. I don't know. That's still a little tough to me. Really, Ghost is just kind of there. You know, yeah. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of Ghost, except that, you know, they're a team. They have to be more trustworthy with each other, and like they have to play as a full squad. If Ghost can, when Ghost have played like as a full unit, they don't cut rotations needlessly or try to force a solo play. This team can be nasty. They can be, but they just haven't figured it out. And I thought maybe they'd start to get it going like near the end of league play. They didn't, and now they have another chance. I mean, they didn't get relegated, and that's great. But that's why Valencia is going to be so good for Ghost if they end up not making a change and doing well. Bricks is sorry, I don't want to. If you have got a point, jut in.
Oh no.
No.
I'm just. Oh well. I mean, I might. I'm not gonna stop you.
Oh yeah, no. I was just gonna say, just jump in. I'm going through everything.
Oh, okay.
Just like this.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. Teams that I think will make it to day 2. You got the top row, unless Vitality throw, but I think they have an easier side of the bracket. Splice could probably not make it if they lose the first game, because I think they play Ground Zero first, actually. And if they drop that early on, they have to face a team like Complexity and losers, right. They're not going to get out their group, so they have to beat Ground Zero first, which might be a challenge for them. First day, like, you know, they might not make day 2 if that happens in that terrible way. I'm not sure how that works out though. I have to look at the Smash bracket. Pool B, top 4 should make it. Veloce might be a question mark there.
You really think Veloce? You think Veloce are gonna make it?
Actually, you know, like, to be honest, like PSG, Triple Trouble, they all have been pretty question marky. Like, the only for
PSG question marky.
I mean, did we not see all the European teams besides Vitality lose to a North American team at the World Championships? Like,
yeah, fair, but ago? Like, so PSG struggles have always been in international matchups, but like PSG side of the bracket, they don't. So PSG have to play. They have to play C9, I believe. I'm pulling up the bracket right now, but after that, it's all EU teams after that they play, and PSG will beat anyone not named Cloud9 in this group. They will beat Triple Trouble. They'll beat Renegades. They'll beat Crazy Crew. They'll beat Childish Gam Bam Bam. They'll beat Los Potato, and they'll beat Veloce. It's like Veloce maybe could take down PSG. Renegades definitely have a chance. Renegades aren't a bad team. I think they could do it if they're playing well and they're on their game. But PSG are too good. Like Chaussette specifically has been playing so well lately, and I just think that's going to continue. Like, I don't.
Yeah, we already have our March stream matches too.
They might even beat Cloud9. I mean, Cloud9 didn't look the strongest by the end of the World Championship, so
right. Veloce playing Renegades first, and they're gonna be on stage. Triple Trouble should be Crazy Crew, no problem, and then they'll play between PSG. That'd be a good match to watch. But let's see. So yeah, no, if Veloce had lost to Renegades first, they would.
Actually, no, they're on the other side of the bracket of Cloud9. Duh, I'm an idiot. Yeah, they play Childish Gam Bim Bam, and then they play the winner of Triple Trouble Crazy Crew. Yeah, so yeah, PSG easy, not even close.
Yeah, no, I can see that because like, I guess the question would be like between Veloce and Renegades because they play first and they both play on stage.
Renegades.
Yeah. So
Renegades are a good team. They've been grinding. They were in North America training since before DreamHack Dallas, and I don't think they left until like a week after the World, or like just recently.
Yeah, because they
left America.
They stayed there and then they went from America to Spain.
Yeah. So like those guys have been grinding, While like travel fatigue might actually be a problem, but like they're making it to day 2 out of that group.
So then you got Veloce, who's going to play the loser of PSG in Triple Trouble.
Yeah, and I think PSG beat Triple Trouble, and I think Triple Trouble beats Veloce. I don't see Veloce making day 2 out of this group. I think it's too tough. Yeah. I think that Veloce can take down Triple Trouble for sure, but I don't know. Triple Trouble are a good team. I don't know if they'll drop to Veloce or not.
All right. Let's see. Pool C. G2, Ghost, and Method are on the same side. Ghost will play Method first. Barcelona, Bricks, and Aeriality. It'll be Bricks versus Aeriality first. And I think, honestly, let's see. So, let's say Ghost win, but then they lose to G2. So, then they drop to... That could be an upset, though. Ghost could upset G2. Depending on where that game... Like, what happens in that game.
I would not pick Ghost over G2. Not after how G2 played at Worlds.
That's true.
They are hitting a stride, and I think that stride is here to stay. And Ghost aren't going to contend with that.
So if they lose, they drop down here. The loser. Okay. Yeah. So Ghost will probably make it then. It would be an upset if they lost to like Aeriality.
I don't know. I could see Method beating Ghost in the first round.
That would be pretty crazy.
I don't think that's too out of the ordinary.
Do you think if Method beat Ghost, because like if they do that, then they'll play the loser of Barcelona Bricks, and then they probably won't make day 2.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible. Like Method is Rix, Burrito, and Tigre for Valencia, and I don't see why that team can't beat Ghost.
The question is though, Ghost drop out day 1. Is that enough to warrant a roster change?
I think that you have to consider something. I mean, they didn't get relegated, so maybe you still give it another RLCS season, even if things don't work out. But I think that there needs to be a look at what's not working, because you've had so many days to put things together, and like the issues are apparent. It's like why can't they be fixed? Like where are the consistency issues popping up from? And I think you do have to look at it and try to decide if this is the roster that is going to give you success.
Yeah, I think you're right. And like I said, like I've been thinking, like the results of this tournament are going to decide pretty much roster changes for next season. Almost. We still have Montreal. That would be like right at the end of everything.
Montreal, we might see a new roster. I think roster lock is before then.
Oh,
it maybe roster lock might be before then. It really depends where everything lands. Okay. But it might be right before or right after. So we'll probably see like people with like the rosters they want to go with RLCS, like we usually do with events leading up to a season.
Yeah.
So
that would just be the one that shapes the season. But yeah, in terms of like, this is, as far as everyone knows, the only big major we have in the off season. Let's see. Finally, at Pool D, NRG, it's Servette. Who is Servette's roster? Let's see.
Servette Gaming.
Virtuosos,
Servette
Sapphire,
Geneva.
People I don't know. Yeah, people I don't know. So they'll probably win that one. Randy Gibbons, River Rats versus the Chiefs. Interesting. That'll be all a stage match. So we get to see Gibbs pick his team.
That is going to be... I'm only watching for Randy Gibbons' Wild Rodeo show, like with the River Rats. Come on, let's be honest. Dig with Astral's nutty at ones. Will that fuck Dignitas over? Find out on the next episode of DreamHack Ball Z. We'll find out. But once players transferring to threes has always been a very tumultuous task. And while Astral is fucking nutty, he is one of the best mechanical players to come through on the scene. Like, this dude is really good. But it's all about how he like thrives in a threes environment. Yeah. While I think they beat they win their first match, I don't think Rogue is not going to be easy. Rogue are a very good passing team, and maybe the wildness of Astral can give them an edge, but it's going to be tough.
Looking at this bracket, I don't know if Dig make it to day 2.
Yeah,
I say that because
it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible, but if they lose to Rogue, then they have to play against the pretty much the loser of River Rats and Chiefs. And I don't know. Imagine like losers quarterfinal. Dignitas versus Randy Given River Rats. Turbo versus his ex team. See who makes day 2. Day 2. Jorby. Day 2.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Imagine if Randy Gibbons River Rats won the whole thing. Turbo to NA, and then Turbo signs with another team.
Oh my god.
That would be totally a thing. That would definitely happen. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. And I actually think when does this happen? This is sooner than we think. Because I believe it's nighttime over there right now.
What? It happens tomorrow, my guy.
Yeah, it does happen tomorrow, but like not tomorrow. Like I think we have to wake up early.
Oh, the broadcast probably starts the same time every other broadcast has started, which is like 11 local time.
Yeah, but it's
11, 12 local time. Yeah, and
I don't.
That's like it's like 3 a.m. for you.
Okay, they were what? You had only 12 hours away. They said that 3 hours ago. So hold on, I'm bad at math.
This isn't hard, baby. You got this. Maybe don't.
4 a.m.
It's 3 a.m. for me, 4 a.m. for you.
Oh wait, if it's 3 a.m. for you, it's 5 a.m. for me. That means I can sleep. All right, I'm with it. Awesome.
Excellent. Perfect.
Wait, hey, you're in this video.
I'm gonna wait. In what video?
In the video that's on there, we're only 12 hours away from the thing. I just saw you talk. Yeah, look at. I gotta show you.
Wait a minute. Throw this up.
God. Wait.
Dallas has been fantastic, but that's not the end of it. We have 2 more dream hacks this year with.
Oh my god! Wait a minute. Oh, I remember doing that.
You don't know who is.
I did that at the end of Dallas. They're like, "We want you to say some hype stuff for us," and I was like, "Okay." And I didn't realize that. There. Wow! I'm not even gonna be there. Rip.
Better see you there, Jorby.
Fucking rip, dude.
Better see you there. You better be there, Jorbs.
Yeah. Well, all right. Hang on. Let me. Let's see. You
booking a flight? Let's get Airbnb.
Valencia flights. Here we go. Ready? LAX to Valencia flights. Let's look. What we got? What are we paying to leave tonight? Starting for $476. What? 4 months from now? Fucking bullshit. How much would it cost for me to fly out today? Let's look. LAX. Valencia. We're leaving.
Fly out tomorrow, or maybe I don't know.
We're leaving on. I can only leave July 5th. I can't leave today.
Right.
So I'm gonna be late, but I'm gonna be there.
Right.
All right. We getting back Monday. No, we're going back Tuesday because we're gonna spend some time in Spain. One passenger. Let's see our cheapest flights. What we got? Minimum 1,200. I bet. Get my deals. No, fuck you. Give me the flights. $5,000 is the lowest price to leave tonight.
That's caster money.
Easy caster
just
money.
Like set up a donation goal and you're there.
Yeah. One night. Oh, that's funny though. Yeah. That's really funny.
You better be there.
I better be there. I said I would be.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. How about you?
That's great.
Oh, that was good.
All right, Daz. I don't want to give you a hard out here though, but I gotta start thinking about moving.
LOL. No, you're fine. Oh, duh. I was gonna kick you off this show anyways.
Yeah, good.
Bum.
I didn't want to be on your show.
I have to go. We've been talking for a long time.
It's probably the longest voice conversation we've had in a little bit.
Yeah, one that's not over games.
That's not over a game, and I'm yelling.
Yeah, those are the best.
It is.
Oh man, but guys, thank you for watching Discussions with Daz. If you're watching on YouTube, I especially love you. Mainly because
100% love you.
We did hit our sub goal of 200 subscribers, so
woo!
I was able to actually for you guys that don't know, I was able to change the URL. So now if you do type youtube.com/Dazerin, it will redirect you to my channel. Good stuff there. Thanks everyone who's supported on YouTube so far. Everyone who's been here on Twitch, make sure to always come by early for discussions episodes because you never know what you miss. You were in there for a treat earlier today with me and Jorby having a nice little chat. And who knows, you might be able to do that for some stuff in the future. Also, thanks on Twitch. We are at 2,626 followers
Hell
on
yeah.
the channel. So we're just
doing
our thing. And
follow this. Wait, is it this way?
well,
is
I mean,
it?
you could go down.
No, wait, you're over here. You're over here. It's follow this man. All right.
LOL.
Down there. No, up there. Hit the damn follow button. Do the thing. Subscribe to his YouTube channel so he stops yelling at me too.
Smash the like. LOL. And then, of course, for those who do also follow on Twitter, big shout out for that as well. We are at 1,559 followers on there too. So good stuff. Good stuff.
Very
people.
good.
Thank you for the support. This will be up on Reddit as well. For those who want to look back at it later, if you guys are just now tuning in, make sure to follow Jorby at JorbyPls on Twitter and at JorbyPls on Twitch as well, because he's a good guy. He deserves all the love and support that he can. And make sure to make nice Reddit threads about him, please. Okay.
Nah, I mean, I don't read Reddit. I don't read Reddit, but thank you.
Lying. Guys, this has been Discussions with Daz. I'm Daz. That's Jorby. I hope you all have a good night or a good morning wherever you are. Take care. Love you. Bye.